my name is Bethany Harris, and I'm handwriting and English interventions product owner here at Twinkl. I have a lot of teaching experience, so prior to working for Twinkl, I taught in primary schools in the UK, Indonesia, Kuwait, and in Hong Kong. And I was an English lead for many years too, so I come with quite a vast experience to bring to the table today. So at Twinkl, as the handwriting and English interventions product owner, I am responsible for the Twinkl handwriting product line, but I'm also responsible for all of the English interventions that we have. For example, the Flying Start handwriting, Racing Ahead handwriting, 60-second reading intervention, Spag Samurai, and our SATS survival English resources. So hopefully today we can have a little talk about interventions and how we can deliver successful interventions, things to think about when we're planning for interventions, and then hopefully I can show you some resources that we have available at Twinkl that you might be able to use to run an intervention successfully. So we'll start by looking at interventions and how we can use assessment to create effective interventions. Then we'll look at some strategies before we then move on to the resources. And finally, as Louise mentioned, we will have some time for questions. So I'm hoping that I won't keep you too long today. I'm aware of the time, and some of you are probably desperate to get home and have your dinner or go and do something lovely in the sunshine. So yeah, let's go. So I just want you to have a little think about assessment first, and do please feel free to pop anything in the chat. And why do you assess? So as a teacher, as an educator, why do you assess? What is the purpose of assessment? How do you assess? And what is the impact of your assessment practices? Thank you. Helps me to focus on individuals as opposed to the class. Identify what children know already, need to reinforce or learn, and therefore next steps. Thank you. And we can come back to any more that people post later. It's just great to start thinking about it as we carry on the discussion today. So I will refer quite a bit to the Education Endowment Foundation's Improving Literacy in Key Stage 2 today. At Twinkl, we really value the EEF and the research that they carry out in education. Even though this comes from the Key Stage 2 strategy, there's also lots that can be put into Key Stage 1 that crosses over. They also have an intervention strategy, and lots of what we'll talk about today comes from that too. So when you're thinking about interventions, really you've got to think about developing that core classroom teaching first, so that, you know, literacy capabilities of the whole class can really come out. And then with place, the need for any additional support should decrease. So obviously the priority first is to really think about that whole class and how we can improve teaching on a whole class level. Of course, as we know, we've all been there. There are students in the class that do need additional support, and it's about how we can really focus on those children to make sure they're making the best of their learning and making progress. Regular monitoring with pupils can identify those who are struggling with their English, and obviously having some diagnostic assessments in place, they can then be used to inform our interventions. So thinking about what are interventions then. Interventions are short-term focused teaching programs with specific intended outcomes. They are individuals or small groups of pupils with particular needs. Sometimes you may have whole class interventions as well, but primarily you'll be looking at those individuals and small groups. Focused teaching sessions, which is a deviation away from existing teaching practice and whole class teaching. So it's giving students the tools that they need to then access that whole class learning again. The Education Endowment Foundation highlights some common elements of effective interventions, and they use the term target your interventions. So what does that actually mean? I'll start with assessment, because actually assessment is really where you need to start. Make sure all your interventions are informed by assessment, and make sure there are trackers in place to assess progress as you go. Lots of our interventions here at Twinkl have their own assessment embedded, so it's really useful. You can pick up the resources and you've got assessment of the learning. Then timing is key. There is really no point in doing any intervention unless it is targeted at the right time. Firstly, the learning needs to be relevant to children so they're able to grasp the concept easily. Of course, this might be catch-up material they've previously learned. I know it's hard at this time of year. You feel as though you're chasing your tail. You've got so many gaps to fill and so little time, and sometimes it can feel really overwhelming. I've been there, I've done that, and it can be tricky, but with a strong strategy, you can achieve great things in a short space of time. So just thinking about how you can plan your time effectively to get the best out of your children. Ensure interventions happen a few times a week, but keep them brief. And things really do take time, so give it time to progress. You know, on average, they say 8 to 20 weeks of successful interventions. However, at Twinkl, we have short and snappy ones for periods of up to 6 weeks, which can really get your children refocused on that learning. Of course, if you feel no progress is being made, keep going and adjust the learning based on your ongoing assessments. Make sure all interventions are well resourced and whoever is delivering them is confident to do so. Sometimes you might feel stressed and overwhelmed as you don't have the subject knowledge. So it's crucial that if you're planning an intervention for others, then ensure they have everything they need. And if you're asked to deliver one, then, you know, make sure you are confident with the resources that you've been given. Something very crucial to interventions is that the person delivering them is trained and confident to do so. So there is a report from the Education Endowment Foundation about using teaching assistants for interventions, and actually the power that using the teacher has against that, because whoever's delivering that intervention really needs to understand the learning process so that they can bring children back or push them on as they need to make that intervention ever more successful. Therefore, that trained teacher or qualified or strong teaching assistant should be doing these as much as possible. I know that's really hard, and when you're in class, it's hard to manage and manage your time. When I was a teacher, I had to think of ways for my teaching assistant and other adults to support the learning within the class so that I could then target those specific intervention groups. But of course, as we know, it's not always possible, which is why we need to make sure the teachers do assessments prior to these interventions so that the teacher can really set up that other supporting adult and make sure they're well resourced so they can deliver the interventions with ease. I remember when I planned a phonics intervention for an assistant once, and after completing my assessments, I mapped out the half term so that my teaching assistant could really see what was expected of her throughout that half term. I then gave her the resources a week in advance so she was able to go through anything and ask questions prior to delivering the intervention. And we got great feedback. She said it was incredibly valuable and she felt confident and prepared. Of course, it's not always possible. You might need to do a same-day intervention. So it's about ensuring there are appropriate resources available at the right time. At Twinkl, we have a range of interventions within our Boost range. And if you're not familiar with the Boost range, then just type in Twinkl Boost in your Google search and you'll find what we have available. We have a landing page that shows all of our different resources, and each resource is curriculum aligned, and every pack that we have will have everything that you need to deliver a successful intervention. All our interventions at Twinkl can be used as standalone interventions, but they have been cleverly designed to allow anyone to pick them up if they need to and be ready to deliver those interventions with ease. So firstly, we have our Spag Samurai range. Currently, we only offer Spag Samurai interventions in Key Stage 2. However, we do have big plans underway to launch a Key Stage 1 intervention very soon. This is honestly my favourite of all the interventions. It's fun. It really can be brought to life within your classroom. Each pack is linked to a curriculum goal and aid progress for your intervention group, but equally each pack is linked to a character, which I'll talk about in a minute. Within each pack, there's a detailed lesson plan and practice resources and an assessment element for each one too. It's absolutely my favourite part of the scheme is the characters. Each character has a special job and is linked to a unique area of English. So please meet our Spag Samurai warriors. Wataru, the word wolf. Sanjiro, the sentence salamander. Fusahira, the phrase pheasant. Harasu, the claws crow. Toko, the tense tiger. Pikarun, the punctuation pig. Varu, the vocabulary vole. And Fuji, the formality fox. Each of these is there to support a different area of English, as you can see, and they really bring this intervention to life. So you'll find these characters within each pack. So you can see here we've got Toko, and they will be, each pack will have rewards and games and activities and displays, along with the lesson pack, which will include a very detailed lesson plan for you to follow. Each character will guide you on your journey to successfully delivering the intervention. With the characters, you can also find them in our study squad books and Spag concept videos. You can see at the top there, we've got a concept video, and every pack links with one of these videos, which is great for subject knowledge for you to watch the video before you deliver the intervention, just to boost that subject knowledge. And also they can be used with children in the intervention to support their learning. They can be accessed through the Twinkl website, and they can be used to consolidate learning. In addition, we do have Go games. So you can see here at the side, we've got a Go game. Again, they link with the packs and they link with the interventions, so you can consolidate learning with your children at the end of your successful intervention if you wish. They can all be accessed through the Twinkl website. So just log on to Twinkl and type in Go games and you'll find an abundance of Go games there, and same for the concept videos. We do have some really big plans for these characters, so get to know them, bring them to life in your school, as they will be going very big soon. So next up, we have our 60-second reading intervention. This is designed to aid fluency, speed and accuracy in Key Stage 1, whilst developing comprehension skills. It is all maintained as an independent reading intervention, and it can be used to support any reading scheme that you may use in your school. So it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to just be schools that follow Twinkl Rhino readers. You can use it to support any reading scheme that you have in your school. So there are 10 unique levels that can be easily determined by a teacher assessment at the very start. This is unique in the fact that it is designed for one-to-one sessions rather than that whole class, small group or whole class intervention. And it is preferably to be used daily for a quick 10 to 15 minute blast of fun and engaging reading. There are 10 texts in each level, so there's plenty available to support your child as they progress. And when I used them as a teacher, I would do them first thing in the morning as a quick blast with those children that really needed that extra boost. Now, they are for Key Stage 1, and there's 10 levels that go up to the end of Year 2. However, they can be used in Key Stage 2 to support those low-level readers too. Of course, these slides will be sent out at the end of the session, so anybody who does want to have a look at them again, you will be able to access them later. So anyway, back to the 60-second reading intervention. They're great for learning support teachers as well, or any educator in the school who runs a one-to-one session throughout the day. And, you know, as a class teacher, you could give these to those support staff to aid reading for your specific children too. So what do we offer within these packs? So once you've identified your reading level with the teacher assessment pack, you can then use each pack to support the progress. Each pack contains everything that you need. We have a range of fiction, non-fiction and poetry texts available, and each comes with its own assessment and a fluency running record if you'd like to use that too. There's reading guidance, there's activities, follow-up activities, and there's also a home learning activity that you can give to children to take home too. So these packs are aligned with our Totally Pawsome reading dogs. So each dog is aligned to a different comprehension skill, and you will find them on the text with the questions so that you and the children can see exactly what comprehension skill they're working on. We do have lots of resources available for the reading dogs in general. So if you just want to go through the reading dogs with your children first, please feel free to do so with our introductory slides. We're also working on updating this scheme at the minute. So as I mentioned previously, please give us any feedback that you have on the resources that you use. We would love to hear it. We would love to hear what you have to say so that we can really make informed decisions, ensuring these products are best fit for you guys really. Next up, we have our handwriting products. So these all align with our Twinkl handwriting scheme, and they take pupils on a journey through progressive stages suggested in the national curriculum to become speedy and fluent writers, of course supporting their overall writing success. So we have two choices of handwriting styles, Journey to Cursive and Journey to Continuous Cursive, and this goes all the way from EYFS to the end of Key Stage 2. But then alongside that main scheme, we have two handwriting interventions. And these are designed for children who are struggling with fine or gross motor skills, letter formation, placement, and positioning. But I will say that even though these are aligned with our Twinkl handwriting, both schemes can be used to support any handwriting intervention, any handwriting scheme that you have in your school. So you don't have to be following Twinkl handwriting to be able to use them. Both are crafted to allow for a flexible approach. So you can enter the intervention at any stage, depending on the needs of your children. What I love about them is they're also fantastic for a whole class intervention. So if you have a class, for example, who need a quick refresher or are struggling with a particular area of handwriting, you can use these to support on a whole class level. And they are designed with a dip in, dip out approach so that, you know, you can enter it and just teach the weeks that you want. Equally, alongside being successful for whole class, you can use them to teach in small groups or on a one-to-one basis. Let's have a look at the Flying Start first of all. So it's broken up into 6 easy teaching weeks. But again, you can dip in and dip out of those weeks as you see fit. And they will benefit from this engaging and systematic system. So that in each pack, you'll have an overview document, which will give a summary of the week's content. And it's also great evidence to look for individual learning plans. You can use those for learning plans or, you know, IEPs that to support that progress for your children. And there are detailed session plans for every session. And there are easy and printable resources that you can use. Again, the same as the reading intervention, there is a home learning link. So you can use that to support learning at home as well and to communicate with parents. Just to give you a little bit of an insight into what it's like, if for example, you have students who are who need to develop their gross motor strength or motor skills or hand-eye coordination, then you'd start right at week 1 Whereas if you had pupils who really were needing to focus on placing the letters on the line or the correct letter shape, you might start at week 5, and you can see that in the guide so that you know exactly where you would like to start with your students. And this intervention obviously is Flying Start, so it's all designed around aeroplanes and taking off and going to the airport and preparing for takeoff. So it's really fun and engaging to get those children learning. Sorry. And then we've got our Racing Ahead. So again, this is just for Key Stage 2, but it is for students who still need to look at fine and gross motor skills and letter formation, placement. It's just more age appropriate for Key Stage 2 children and can be used all the way up to Year 6. Again, this is Racing Ahead, so it's about racing cars and being in a race and preparing for the race. Each pack's got a reading age it's got a handwriting assessment in there and guidance and follow-up activities, and there's different lesson plans that you can use. Then finally, we have we have our SATS interventions, and our SATS interventions have now all been put on a wonderful landing page called the SATS Revision Hub. So you can find the SATS Revision Hub on our site. If you type in SATS Survival Hub, you should be able to find it. And of course, it's for those who are focusing on Year 6, so primarily Year 6 teachers, but also anyone who is asked to support a Year 6 intervention. You can also come and use this too. We've added pretty much everything that you need to revise for SATS on here. So anything you need, just head to the SATS Revision Hub and you'll find it there. I've been there, it's stressful. You start the half term and your whole brain is filled with SATS, and it's so hard to even know where to start sometimes. So we've created some suggested timetables to make this much easier for you. So we've got both a whole class revision timetable, and that's more for the class teachers to think about how to get a SATS revision for your whole class. And then we've got the intervention timetable, which is more specifically designed for a teacher that might be supporting an intervention, or a class teacher that might be planning some extra interventions for some of their children. There is, within the timetable, there's a SPAG, a reading and a maths focus each day. We've also included short, snappy exercises that you can use throughout the day. There's some mindfulness activities to focus on. And of course, then we've got some SATS assessment revision to go over as well to prepare them for the assessment. As I've mentioned before, we've got concept videos to help with subject knowledge, both for you and to then work with the students, and study squad books and Go games to extend any learning there. So please do check out the hub. There's so much available on there, as you can see. These are all the different elements, and there is still a bit more on there. We've got some SATS guidance for schools, additional study squad materials, CPD, concept videos and mindfulness. And we've also got post-SATS activities on there. So when you get to the end of SATS and you're in that period where you're not really sure what to do, there's lots of activities on here that you can click on to see if you like them and enjoy them with your students.